I'm actually quite a shy person, so it was easy for me to sit in a room with lots of monitors and talk to monitors. And I've got quite a good memory, so I was able to associate names and numbers together, as a way of memorising who the crew were. And I didn't necessarily have to have contact with anybody except for the people immediately beside me, the producer and maybe the vision mixer and the DA. I think the person that makes a great director is someone who's calm. Although I've seen a lot of Americans direct and they have a totally different style to what we have. Where they are very animated and very loud. And the British are like that as well, just quietly. But someone who is going to make good decisions under pressure. I think it's probably the best description of what makes a good director. If you work for your local broadcaster, so TVNZ for instance, it's a different experience. You're pretty much in a control room watching a lot of feeds come in and choosing or someone else is choosing where you go and when you go there. So it's a continuity job more so than anything else. If you go and you work for the Olympic Games people, you are generally covering a sport. That's hard. That's actually quite a grind. You sit in the truck directing game after game or race after race, and there's no commentary as a general rule. And the reason for that is you don't want to bias the pitches. So it's very difficult to get, Although, having said that, what's more and more the norm now is that they will have commentators, so as a guide in case countries don't have their own or can't provide any. So, yeah, it's quite interesting. And your coverage is quite a bit less emotional. I did Michael Jones, which ran over by an hour, I think, but was the highest rating This Is Your Life ever, I think. That was amazing. I think, in fact, in the first opening link, I think Holmes swore. I think he was kind of overwhelmed by, the title was rolled and he came through and, the first thing he said was the F-bomb. And, yeah. So, there's little things like that you had to try and cut out, I suppose. But, yeah, because that show ran so over, it was 20 minutes over at the end of the first part. So we actually asked the programmers who were in the venue if we could have an extension. And they, by this stage, were quite jolly because it was a funny situation. I don't know whether you remember the Michael Jones one, but there were always surprise elements, right? So pretty much we were at the Rugby Awards of New Zealand and about 15 minutes into those awards, suddenly in comes Paul Holmes and starts wandering around the room and goes up to a table which is full of All Blacks. Pretty much the 87 World Cup team is at one table, and they go through them all. You think it's not Fitzy, it's no. We moved on. Oh, it's you, Michael. What are you doing? And this is, that was so away we went. So yeah, they are difficult things to do. This Is Your Life, and they are quite long records. I directed 10 seasons of it. When I first jumped in the chair and I started cutting, Julie Christie said to me, "We need this to be really fast. Whatever you do, just keep cutting." And that was pretty much what we did. The rate of cutting was really fast in that show, and quite hard actually. You'd think for just a little chat show, but you're trying to catch as much as you possibly could. It was 6 cameras. You had 3 ISOs. You had the 2 teams ISO'd, and you had wide shot ISO'd. And generally it was mayhem because you didn't know exactly what was to expect until you walked in. They'd play these little games and whatever else, electrocute themselves, suffer as much pain as possible. That was Mark and Matthew, who were, fiercely competitive people. And I think I had 2 hosts. It was Eric at first and then Tony Beach. It was only ever recorded in 1 hour or less. So even though it was a commercial half hour, pretty much we'd record somewhere between 12 and 1, mostly because the boys didn't have any more patience than that. They were out of there. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to do. He made me script every shot. So I did. I scripted every shot took me forever. There's a lot of songs. And I absolutely knew that he didn't think I was up to doing this. This guy out of the sports department who'd directed Warriors games and whatever else, and wasn't going to be an entertainment director. But we did the first half of the show, and he didn't sit in the control room of the van. He sat in the tape area, and we just finished the last song of the first half, and then there's a 20-minute break normally. And he came through and he gave me the biggest hug. So I thought, okay, maybe I'm doing okay. Really cool show, that. Underrated on New Zealand television, or by TVNZ, I believe. It gave it very poor time slots for a show that twice won Best Entertainment Show of the Year. We did ISO all the cameras. That was quite early days, and actually recording every single camera and recutting it. Although, to be fair, the sequences were pretty much done on the day. You'd rehearse for 2 days, and then you'd do the show live in front of an audience. Well, actually, you'd have 2 nights where it was in front of an audience, and the first night you used as a cover in case something went wrong on the second night. But generally, it was a very slick show with a lot of elements to pull together. Great lighting, setting was quite out there. I think they first showed to use LED panels, for instance. So, I mean, it was actually ahead of its time, I think, as a show. Also, good place for New Zealand talent to be showcased, in particular Pasifika talent, and for fashion designers, where they really don't have anything since things like Smoke Free, which used to be B&H, disappeared. And a good way to deliver it to the public, because again it had the entertainment factor, live entertainers reacting with models. It's quite cool. The wonderful thing about an event like that, which lasts for such a long period of time, is that the crew become very dedicated to it, which you don't get at a rugby game or a one-off event, if you like. And every single morning we would have a camera meeting, and we would discuss the coverage from the day before. We'd whiteboard what we were going to do. We'd come up with a playlist. We've sorted out our playbook. What happens if this happens? What happens if this happens? Every night after the broadcast, the crew would come back and they would watch the program, and then we would also discuss: was there extra shots that we could put in, or were there shots that we didn't need and we could take out? And as a result, the coverage became honed. It was beautiful. The boats looked spectacular, the setting was spectacular, but we knew when the church was going to come up, or there was going to be a tram coming down a road, we'd pull out to reveal a boat. So there was a lot of relating. We do a lot of banking of shots as well. I mean, if you've got a helicopter, you go and bank as many shots, and we'd roll them in electronically as if they were alive. That's also a way of covering off your sponsors too, so you don't, because obviously, no one's paying for it, then it's just not happening. For a minority sport in the States, that's pretty incredible, because the one we most wanted to win was best coverage of a live event, which we didn't. But the people we were up against the World Series Baseball finals, we were up against the NBA finals playoffs, and we're off in NASCAR. So, I mean, notable out of that was there was no Super Bowl. So, to be in that company was amazing. Politically, we were probably never going to win those awards, because we were a minority sport. So, but still, pretty amazing.